the most realistic online racing sim ever made. This is iRacing. Detailed laser scan tracks, fully dynamic real-world cars, and over 50 series to choose from. 6 online world championships offering over $100,000 in annual prizes. This is the original esport racing game. This is iRacing.
With the Butt Kicker Gamer 2, what you see and what you hear is what you feel. Butt Kicker. The future is feeling.
Welcome back, race fans, here to the Turn 3 Racing Network. Here tonight, the RFC NEXTGEN Light Electric Company ARCA Menard Series comes to a close here at Kansas Speedway. Cody, man, it's been one heck of a season. We've seen some great races. We've seen some crazy races. We've seen one driver go ahead and lock up that season championship. The 88 of KD Osborne has walked away with the championship already in hand. 4 race wins on the season. But who you looking out there for tonight to make a splash here, maybe make up a few points here tonight in the final race?
Yeah, thanks, Dave. You know, it's funny. We talked halfway in the season. KD hadn't went to victory lane. We go to Daytona, he wins. And since then, he has been the highlight, so to speak, of the series. One of the drivers that I've kept my eye on here in the second half, especially here in the closing, has been it's been Brandon Medford. Man, he has surged as of late. He's second in the points coming into tonight. The points battle, second, third, and fourth, even fifth place. That is a really tight points battle. Only 1 point separating second and third. That's Brandon Medford and Brian Maskell Jr. I really like how Medford has closed out the year. So I'm going to be watching him tonight. But another driver that I think we've seen a few bright spots off and on this season has been Brian Snare. Snare's been close a couple of times. Of course, he did get his first career win this year at Rockingham. But I want to keep my eye on that 45 car. I feel like a little bit of momentum has been on his side. But, Dave, this racetrack, it looks big. It's really wide, but the groove here can narrow up at times, and there's going to be over 25 race cars fighting for some really, really tight real estate.
Yeah, the track is pretty decently wide, 3 lanes, but it does close up pretty fast on the exit. Hearing a lot of drivers talk about a loose, tight race car. So look for some trouble here on the exits for sure with the rear end of the cars trying to step out. And Cody, you mentioned the point standings, and Osborne already having the points championship in hand, and there you see it on your screen now. Close battle between Medford and Maskell right there, just 1 point. Lance Yancey was in second, has dropped two places all the way back to fourth. He's in a close battle with Brian Snare, Brian Littleton, Eric Blount right there as well. Troy Radford, he's visited Victory Lane, I believe at least once so far this season, Cody, but just barely inside that top 10. So interesting to see some of these drivers not really, even though they've had a race win, they just haven't been able to be as consistent as that Sun Drop machine out of Blackhawk Motorsports. And, that brings me to the next thing, Cody. The team battle, very, very tight here coming into tonight's final race.
Oh, yeah. The team battle has really been, from start to finish, probably the most exciting points race. We've seen Team Dirty Air Racing and Falcon Motorsports pretty much flip-flop all year. And Blackhawk Motorsports, thanks to KD's surgence as of late, has really rallied back. 15 points behind Dirty Air Racing is Falcon Motorsports and Blackhawk Motorsports. So if things shake out the way they are tonight, possibly if KD and Brian Snare and Dustin Ping and Mike Mason-Gill can have a good showing, Dave, it's possible that Blackhawk Motorsports could take the team standings win if Dirty Air and Falcon Motorsports drivers kind of stumble a little bit. And I was looking down the list, and there's at least one of the Falcon Motorsports guys not on the racetrack. I was seeing if there were possibly, no, Doug is here. So at least one team member down for that Falcon Motorsports team. So it's going to be interesting. Blackhawk could rally and steal the team standings at the end of the night.
Yeah, it's one of those moments where some drivers come in with nothing to gain, nothing to lose here, so they can throw it all to the wayside, and some drivers have to be a little bit more calculated, especially when you start eyeing that team championship. What's this going to do if I pass this car or I let this car by? What's that going to shake up? How's my teammates doing? Going to be a lot of communication on the radios throughout the night here. In the Autism Speaks, it's time to listen. 125 in the RFC NEXTGEN Light Electric Company ARCA Menards K&N Series from Kansas Speedway tonight, Cody. It's going to be fast. It's going to be hairy at times, and these drivers, I promise you, they're gonna have some contact. They're going to be some beating and banging here at good old Kansas.
Yeah, and, fans, the restarts. I want to talk about that. The restarts at this place can be off-the-wall crazy. Anywhere from 3 wide to, if they want to risk it, depending on how late in the race it is, we could even see 4 wide heading into turn 1 because they will fan out once they come out of that tri-oval. And that's the thing, too, Dave, is real estate on the restarts. You have to get as much as you can get when that green flag comes out, because simply once people get spread out around this place, it is hard to gain momentum back.
Yeah, and that mad dash to turn 1, if that's what you want to call it, it's going to get quite serious. You're going to see 3 wide, I guarantee it, and you may very well, just as you said, see that 4 wide. I expect to see it not just at the front, but possibly 2, 3 rows back, drivers getting stacked up on the restart, making those quick moves to the middle or down there onto the apron. So look for the restarts and the start of the race to be pretty action-packed As the red flag flying here in happy hour, Katie Osmond with the quick time in happy hour. I believe it was a 31:30. I'll have to double check that one, but green flag now flying for qualifying, 10-minute qualifying session. We'll see which one of these drivers is feeling froggy and jumping out there on track. The 45, Brian Snare, your man, jumping out there early here in qualifying.
Yeah, Brian's not shied away from getting on the racetrack, especially in qualifying. I feel like he's actually one of the first drivers we get to see out on the racetrack. And got to give him a shout-out. Love the color scheme. Of course, the Adam Petty number. Brian Snare, of course, from Fincastle, Virginia, rocking that 45 Victory Junction machine. And, you know, I mentioned that win at Rockingham earlier this year. He's had some good runs, just not able to seal the deal as he comes across the start-finish line, looks for his first lap.
Troy Radford also out there on track. Sorry, hit a wrong button, so the camera switched to Troy. We'll go back here, check on Brian Snare once again as he begins to put down some qualifying laps here. Nobody putting down a time lap just yet. First time lap for Snare back down into turn number 3. Lance Yancey out on his time lap. Chris Medford, Jimmy Hetrick, Brandon Medford, Brian Skelton. Oh, and Snare with a big time moment. Contact with the wall coming off of Ford down through the grass. Not going to be what he wanted. He's going to stop short of the line, so he's going to reset and get another shot at it. The 49 of Troy Radford coming off of turn number 4 now, cutting across the apron, crossing the stripe. Where is he going to shake out? Going second on the board. Katie Osmond, quick time right now, 31:56.
Yeah, and Lance Yancey just ran a 31.790, 31.790. He was third quick. Now he's bumped back to fourth. Kind of a shaky week last week for Lance Yancey, Dave. That was just an odd performance for that 77 car. He struggled at Texas, but looks like maybe he's got things figured out as Brian Mescal Jr. knocks back up to second quick. He goes 31.675 for that 33 machine.
And then just like that, Troy Radford, 31.50, going to take the second spot. Lance Yancey, 31.55, not able to take the top spot. We'll go back there with good old-fashioned Roy Hyde, regular lap here. Interesting. Maybe changing things up here in championship night. That 00 with his first time lap here, going to turn it in. And then I do believe we'll see that famous backwards lap.
Yeah, and Dave, right now we've had 15, now make it 16, 17, almost 18 cars have took time. This might be the most we have seen actually make an attempt at a qualifying lap this season. But I do want to say something to one of our rookies. Jimmy Hetrick has had a really good season for a rookie. Came in here 12th in the points. Right now he is, I want to say, 6th quickest on the board right now. But a shout out to that 48 crew for this rookie season.
Yeah, Hetrick has done a fine job out there all season long. Had some really good runs here. And a driver that we expected to run a little bit better this season, the 8 of Kendall Levron. There you see him struggling for grip right up next to that outside wall on his up-to-speed lap. So the 8 out of shape and looking for some help here.
Yeah, and I look off to my right and down the back straightaway. Roy Hyde has gave us that traditional backwards qualifying lap. He's out there right now setting at a fast pace. And that pace, if you're wondering at home, well, that is 87 miles per hour.
Well, that's like an interstate drive around here. I mean, backwards, yeah. That's pretty good. That's pretty good. I know a lot of drivers around here, they can't do that forwards. We'll just stop it there and leave it alone at that.
Very true. I got my eye right now on a driver that I feel like could make an impact tonight in that 80 Michelob Ultra machine. That is Brian Littleton. Littleton's out on the racetrack right now. Littleton out of Wellsboro, Pennsylvania. Loves these big tracks like this. We've seen him shine a lot, and out of turn 4, we're going to see what his first lap is going to bring to us. About 175 mile per hour off of turn 4.
As he crosses the stripe all the way up to 185 miles an hour, heading down into turn number 1. Brian Littleton going to slide in 12th with his first time lap. There you see him right up next to that outside wall through 1 and 2. Looks like most of these drivers going up there keeping the momentum, Cody. Not going to the bottom in 1 and 2. Now through 3 and 4, there you see dropping down to that white line, trying to use as much of the center, as much of the track as they can. Oh, and flirting with the outside wall, and that's not going to be good. That's going to slow him down, take away that time. So the 80 of Littleton going to slide in back in the 12th position. We'll jump back now with the 34 of Doug Wasaki as he's on his up-to-speed lap.
Yeah, Doug Wasaki's given us some beautiful colors this year. The driver out of Belleville, Michigan. There you see that 34 machine. He's another one of those drivers. We've seen him have a really, really somewhat decent year. Looked like he's going to pull it in at 19th quickest. So 21 of what looks like, I want to say, are 26, 27 drivers, Dave. That's pretty impressive. That's the most we have seen take time this season. So looks like right now, no surprise with a 31.48, KD Osmond out front, Troy Radford second, Derek Robertson, Dave, check out that qualifying effort. He's third.
Yeah, Robinson with a supreme effort here tonight in qualifying. Used to see him a little bit further back, right around the 10th spot, usually in the qualifying session. So the 38 crew pulling out all the stops here, starting just inside the top 5. And with that being said, Cody, just past the halfway mark here in this qualifying session. We're going to break away, get a few of the bills paid, then head on down trackside for the national anthem. So, race fans, don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
Say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly wailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rackets regular, the boats bursting in
jets flying over, cars hitting the starting grid. You know what time it is. Cody, we're set to start the field for tonight's race. We're going to set the grid as we roll off for the Autism Speaks. It's time to listen. 125 Championship Night here from Kansas Speedway. Your starting lineup looks like this. Inside row, pole position, the 88 of K.D. Osmond. Just to his outside, the fast as always, 49 of Troy Radford. Row number 2 here tonight, Darrell Robinson in the 83 of Brandon Medford. Derek Robinson, I apologize. Don't shoot me there, Derek. Row number 3 here tonight, starting inside after making a turnaround, complete turnaround from last week's race. The 77 of Lance Yancey, just to his outside, the 48 of Jimmy Hetrick. Row number 4, the 84 of Chris Medford in the 1 of Dustin Ping. Starting inside row number 5, the 8 of Kendall Levron, and rounding out your top 10, the 33 of Brian Mescal Jr.
Rolling off in row number 6, the 11th spot, the number 6 of Eric Blunt, spins outside the 80 of Brian Littleton. Row number 7, to the inside in the 13th spot, the 01 of Gordon Larson Jr. To his outside in the 14th starting spot, the 22 of Cody Terry. Rolling off in row 8, the 86 of Travis Arthur in 15th, and Damon Cox to his outside in the 57. He'll roll off 16th. Row number 9, it'll be the 98, the Light Electric Company Thomas Light Machine and Hammerdown Motorsports in 17th spot. Melvin Young to his outside in the 10. And rounding out row number 10, in the inside, it'll be the 34 Falcon Motorsports Doug Wasaki, and to his outside, the number 3, starting 20th, Mark Byers.
And starting in the 21st starting position, the 00 of Roy Hyde with the 9 of Travis Smith just to his outside. Starting in the 23rd starting position, the 45 of Brian Snare, followed by the 11 of Gary Ragland. Michael Mason-Gill and Ray Radford round out the field for tonight's Autism Speaks. It's time to listen. 125, and it's time to go racing, race fans. The Chevy Silverado pace truck has ducked off. Green flag in the air for the first time tonight as Osmond hits the gas, and away we go. Radford on the outside right there with a good jump. Big separation back to the 77 of Lance Yancey. Your top 4 drivers break away from the field as they hit turn 1.
Yeah, Dave, didn't take them long to figure out where they wanted to be. We've got a long line of cars to the high side. It looks like Lance Yancey, he wants to go back to the bottom. So high side and bottom side, Jimmy Hetrick making up a ton of ground on the outside. He's up to 4th, now 5th going into turn 3.
Yeah, and I think we're going to see a lot of drivers trying to decide which lane it is that they really want to be in. Going to see a lot of shuffling, a lot of drivers dropping from the high line to the bottom and vice versa. 2 and 3 wide. Lance Yancey still battling back here, trying to get that 77 Pennzoil machine hooked up. Went from the bottom to the top, now back to the bottom, now looking 3 wide for a brief moment. Eric Blunt makes his way by Dustin Ping, now looking to the inside in turn 3 on that 77.
Yeah, it looks like the outside line has prevailed, at least right now. If you look at the top 10, the outside line seems to be the place to be right now. On the inside, Derek Robertson trying to make something happen, but he can't quite get up into that outside groove, and he had a chance there in front of his teammate Eric Blunt, but he chooses to stay at the bottom. Dave, they're working the high side and the bottom around Kansas Speedway.
That they are, as we look just in front of Derek Robinson at the battle going on between Brandon Medford and Jimmy Hetrick. Hetrick trying to take that Ally 48 machine up there to the top, or to the bottom, I should say, and up there into a podium position right there knocking on the door. And you mentioned him, rookie here, running good early tonight.
Yeah, he got a good run into turn 1. Brian Mescal Jr. used the air. He put that 33 Mountain Dew machine down on that white line. Going to see if he can make the slide job work. He will not, so momentum's going to go back to Jimmy Hetrick going down the back straightaway. And that 48 is Eric Blunt right there in tow.
Yeah, and I think we'll see the draft come into play just a little bit as some of these cars get a little bit more spaced out. K.D. Osmond breaking that draft now out to a 1.5 second lead over the 49 of Troy Radford, and both of those drivers representing their teams well right now, doing all they can to get themselves the team points. And Brian Mescal Jr., he's trying to follow suit as well, get one of those dirty air racing machines up there in a podium spot.
Yeah, we're going to see that. You mentioned that throughout the night. Brian Mescal Jr. right there trying to get to the front. He's got Brian Littleton mirrored back in 10th, trying to get as many of those dirty air racing cars towards the front. But I tell you what, Dave, this battle right here for 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, and 9th has really heated up in the last 2 laps. You've got 6 cars under a blanket going into turn 1.
Yeah, I mean, just behind them, Cody, too. I mean, just about a second behind these drivers, we got another pack of 4 or 5 cars packed up, then another group of cars further back behind them. So just because it's not at the front doesn't mean there's not battles going on, as Brian Mescal Jr. has made that bottom side work now, put him up into the 4th spot as he slide jobs right in front of Hetrick. Hetrick makes a move for a crossover, not going to work just yet. Side by side with Mescal Jr. back into 1.
Yeah, they are racing just like it's the last lap, but we've just put 7 laps on the board of the 125 that make up the distance here from Kansas and the Autism Speeds. It's time to listen 125. I want to thank Brian Mescal Jr. for the sponsor. Right now, he's got that 33 car up to 4th. Jimmy Hetrick rounding out the top 5, but he's under pressure out of turn 4.
And there you see a big line of cars backed up behind Jimmy Hetrick. You got Blount, Ping, Yancey, Robinson, Littleton, Medford, Levron. They're all right there, all within a few tenths of Jimmy Hetrick. So I don't want to say Hetrick is a moving roadblock right now, but that seems to be where the bottleneck is coming from, as we've got side-by-side racing action right here in this group, with the 38 of Derek Robinson making the pass on Lance Yancey on the outside. That outside lane just doesn't seem the place to be in 3 and 4, but it is definitely where you want to get the run off of 2.
Yeah, you want to get all those RPMs wound up when you start down that long back straight. Oh, and Mescal Jr. makes contact on the back of Brandon Memphord going into 1. Good thing Mescal Jr. laid off, because it looked like that 83 car may have been setting up for a ride in the middle of 1 and 2. Mescal Jr., though, laid off just enough, and it's allowed Jimmy Hetrick to catch him. But, Dave, let's talk about some of the big movers. Mescal Jr., he's up 6 spots. Eric Blunt's up 5. Roy Hyde now, he's climbed up 5 spots up to 16th. That's some of the biggest movers. Travis Arthur down 5 spots. Derek Robinson with that really good qualifying effort. He's fell all the way back to 9th, now making 8th. So some guys going up and down as far as the top 10, but it's all our champion, Katie Osmond, out front.
Yeah, Osmond out front up here in the 88 machine, in familiar territory out there in front. Nobody in front and really nobody right behind. Troy Radford has closed that 1.5 second lead back down to just a half a second as the caution flag flies here. We'll take a look, see if we can't see what happened, what went on with this one. Looks like Ray Radford a little slow on track, so we'll see. We'll just see what went down.
I think that might have started with Gordon Larson Jr. off of turn 2. We'll have to get a really good look.
Oh, and yeah, Gordon Larson Jr. off of 2. He gets a little loose off the wall, comes down the track, and then more drivers involved. Travis Smith, Travis Arthur. Ooh, the Travis show not having the best of nights here tonight.
No, and really nowhere to go, Dave. He was just simply kind of in the wrong place at the wrong time. Travis Arthur and Travis Smith. Unfortunately, the Travises went square there off of turn number 2, but definitely looked like Blunt may have got up into that outside retaining wall. We've noticed something with these cars, Dave. When you get into the outside retaining wall, I mean, you're along for the ride.
Yeah, a lot of these tracks, for some reason, with these RFC NEXTGEN Light Electric Company Arkham Menards cars, they seem to kind of get stuck and pulled in, and it's quite a bit to get them off of the wall. And then once you do, look out, other drivers, because it could end up bad, and it happens to the best of us.
Yeah, and that's why I'm no longer getting to drive the Turn 3 Racing Network cutaway car at a lot of these. I did some damage earlier in the year at Rockingham, and they kind of grounded me. So Dave's been in charge of that the rest of the year.
And if you notice, you haven't heard Dave talk about being in the cutaway car because we have ran out of them. Like, it's not that we don't have the car money. It's just we can't build them fast enough. Then we wreck them. So, yeah.
Yeah, and they also said that we complain about the setup too much, too. So, I mean, go figure. We're just announcers.
I mean, come on. What do they want from us?
Totally.
Field, go ahead.
Totally agree with you there, but a field getting ready to, looks like head to pit road. Will we see any of the leaders? Nope. Katie Osmond's going to stay out there. And, you know, in that last run, Dave, I was watching in the corner mile on our timing and scoring. Troy had started to reel him in. He was about the distance you see there on your screen from KD, but he was starting to shake things up, so to speak. So we'll see if he can do anything now that they're going to be back close together as 13 laps in the books.
Yeah, and I just wonder with that caution falling right around the 10 lap mark, if maybe Osmond was backing it down just a little bit, enjoying the race lead, enjoying the ride. We have seen him out there maintain a gap and manage a gap, let it grow or make it grow, I should say, and then allowing it to shrink just a little bit and then opening that gap back up. So maybe those cat and mouse games already going on, already being played by that 88 and his crew. Really won't know until we get back green flag racing. We'll have to see if Troy Radford can continue having those faster laps here as he did coming right before we had that caution. So we'll just have to wait and see what this restart has for us as Katie Osmond going to bring the field back to the green flag. We'll get the one to go this time by. Troy Radford going to start just to his outside. Brandon Mefford going to start, or actually we're going to get it this time by. So we'll go green as the pace truck ducks off. Field coming back to the restart box and green flag flies here at Kansas Speedway.
Katie is so good on those restarts. Times them down. Troy Radford has to play catch up. I was just going to say, if Troy could keep the outside momentum, it might be good going into 1 and 2, but Katie wasted no time. He's got about 6 or 7 car length lead as Brandon Mefford now has slipped into that second spot.
Oh, and it looks like Chris Medford off of turn number 2 had a little bit of them. Oh, and more drivers with trouble. Back through the field, more drivers going around. Mark Vyers involved in this one. The 3, the latest victim. There you see it. Ooh, that front clip just vibrating, shaking off the ground, dragging. That left front does not look pretty either. So we'll go back, take a look, see what happened here to bring us under our latest caution.
Yeah, we get a good look at that replay. I believe Vyers might have had a little bit of contact there from the 00. Looked like Roy had a really good run off of 2.
And we'll take it all the way back to the restart here to watch what happened here with that 3 of Mark Vyers. There you see him back through the field. So this happened right in front of him. Didn't get a good restart. The 00 of Roy Hyde right there on his bumper on the restart. Then some checking up. Looks like everything seems to be fine. We'll have to wait a little bit further here. There you see him coming off of turn number 2. Gets a little sideways, a little bit of a bump it looked like, and around the 3 goes. Hard into the 86 of Travis Arthur, I think that was on the inside. Tough break for that 86 involved in yet another incident here tonight.
Yeah, and you know, I said it in the opening, these restarts are going to be entertaining. And the reason being, at a track like Kansas, you have to get what you can get when you can get it. In this place, 1.5 miles, you have to pick up as much as you can get when you can get it.
And trying to look through everything going on over there on the YouTube side of thing. Cody, if you would look down at your mic level for me, double check that, make sure that's all good. I believe it should be, but it looks like some of the fans and friends, family out there tuning in tonight, as they always do, saying your mic sounds a little bit low here tonight. You look good on my end, but, you know, we'll check it. Race fans always keeping us on our toes, so we do appreciate you out there keeping us on top of things, Miss Linda. So thank you very much. We'll see if we can't get Cody's mic figured out here. I do know some updates do tend to change some things and fudge things around, so we'll see if we can't get that worked out for you guys. But we find ourselves under caution for the second time here tonight, very early in the Autism Speaks. It's time to listen. 125, lap number 16. Underway. We'll get lap 17 and I believe go back green flag racing on lap 18 here, Cody. So Gonna be a long night if these drivers can't seem to corral these things on these restarts.
Yeah, and you got to hope that these guys can get things sorted out, because I feel like if we can get a green flag run, you're going to see them spread back out. I really think a lot of these guys kind of figured out what their car needs, what they need to do. We've seen some big movers and, well, I would say some big losers as well on that long green flag run. But we are going to see who can kind of finesse around this racetrack, because it is a pretty intense track as far as track position and as far as grip goes, because you can tell these cars move around an awful lot around this racetrack.
Yeah, and when they eventually all go up to the high side, because you know it's going to happen here at Kansas, you see the two different lines, the distinct lines in 1 and 2, as compared to 3 and 4. 3 and 4, they're still running that bottom lane, but as they get the long runs on these tires, you're going to see a lot of these drivers migrate up to the top of the track, and that's where it gets really hairy. That's where you kind of have to do the Kyle Larson line, as we've coined it so much here, seeing him do it, just laying it right up next to that outside wall with the right rear just barely hanging off of it. We're going to see multiple drivers up there, and a few of them, well, they're going to overstep that boundary and I'm sure get caught up into that wall. And one thing I do want to say, too, you know, sometimes the cameras, they do have different audio levels. So I do know the track cameras here at Kansas, they can be pretty loud. So at times you might hear us get a little bit quieter, but that's just because the camera's so close to the track there. You can hear the engines getting pretty loud right there. Cody, huh? I don't know. Saying that.
I hope I'm back. I don't know if that's gonna be louder or not. I don't know what happened.
Yeah, I don't know.
We're unplugging stuff as we speak.
Well, you know, we don't have tech crews, so you're going to have to make sure everything's done right yourself. I can't help you.
Can't get it figured out.
Yeah, I was going to say, now maybe you can try to check your mixer volumes and stuff like that. You know how that is. Anyways, field going to come back to the green flag as the Chevy Silverado pace truck ducks off. Katie Osmond will bring him back to the restart box, and on the gas, and away we go once again. Osmond, once again, great restart. Brandon Medford with a good restart on that outside lane. He got a better jump on that start than what Troy Radford did the last time. Radford gonna slot into third place, no problem right there. Dustin Ping just behind them, battling with Brian Mescal Jr. Here comes Lance Yancey and Jimmy Hetrick now battling halfway down the back stretch. They've got the 22 of Cody Terry right there with them.
Yeah, after you get past third, they're stacking them up 2 by 2, and there's Cody Terry. Where did he come from? All the way up to that 8th spot. We've been impressed with him a few times this year. Right now, he is working on the back of Lance Yancey. We're starting to see some of these dirty South cars start to move to the front, Dave.
I don't know where the dirty South cars come from, but the Dirty Air race team is looking pretty sporty out there right now.
Well, it was something dirty.
I couldn't help, tried to hold it in, Cody. You never cease to crack me up. That's why I love working with you, pal. Great. Dirty South. Race fans, what do we do? What do we do? You know, what do we do?
I don't know. We're watching a great race right now. Jimmy Hetrick just took the old dive hole underneath Brian Littleton. It's going to work. But Jimmy Hetrick now up into that 7th spot. Oh, right on the front corner of Cody Terry. This is a battle now for 7th, 8th, 9th, and 10th.
It looked like Hetrick was trying to make it a 2-for-1 into turn 1 and 2. Looked to make the slide job work out of 2. Wasn't clear quite enough. Almost caught the front bumper of that 22. He's going to have to stay on the bottom lane. Oh, and contact now as Hetrick slides up and into the 22. That's going to bring us under caution yet again here. Oh, and Cody Terry contact with another driver after that, spinning, trying to get the car collected. Oh, my goodness, this ended pretty bad for the 22. We'll take another look. There's the contact. Around they go, and here comes the 22. Oh, Eric Blount, the 84 of Chris Medford involved in the 86 of poor Travis Arthur, man. If there has been one tonight, he has found a way in it somehow. Tough break. We'll take one more look at this. There you see the contact once again. Terry across the bottom. Hard impact for that 84. I'm pretty sure his night's going to be done. You see the front clip, the hood, all coming busting off of that machine right there. That's a tough one to watch right there.
Yeah, and Dave, that's just it's just one of those things when it comes to racing like they were. We started to see business pick up. Unfortunately, just hate to see it on lap 23.
Oh, and there you see an onboard view riding with that 22 with that hard impact. And all you seen there when Medford hit him was just a blur of white and then just parts flying. That was a pretty tough one, a pretty rough one right there for multiple drivers out here. So that will bring us under caution for the third time here tonight. So as the field catches back up behind the pace car, Katie Osmond will bring him back to a crawl. Medford just behind him. Brian Muskell Jr. now in the third spot as Radford took it to pit road. Lance Yancey, Kendall Levron, Jimmy Hetrick, Brian Littleton, Derek Robinson. Pretty much the entire field except your top six have made their way to pit road. So, Cody, we're going to take a brief commercial break, step away from the track, then come back right before we go back green flag racing. So don't go anywhere, race fans. We'll be right back.
With that motor, buddy. Hey, just between you and me, the idea is to avoid the other cars. Congratulations! You just set the sport back 30 years with that move. That move will put you in the Hall of Shame. You keep doing stuff like that and we're going to lose our sponsor. Looks like that's it for us today. Now I know why you got canned by your old team. It's over. We can't fix that damage. You'll need a tow back to pit lane. Press and hold your reset button and we'll come and get you.
Just like that, we're back. As promised, field gets the one to go as the Chevy Silverado pace truck lights go out. Katie Osmond continues to lead the field as he has done all night long. Your top six staying out: Osmond, Brandon Medford, Brian Muskell Jr., Dustin Ping, Brian Snare, and Michael Mason-Gill all staying out. Not coming and getting tires just yet. Damon Cox starting in the 7th spot, onto pit road on lap 15. Then you've got a whole slew of drivers out there with fresh tires. Cody, it's gonna be a madhouse here coming up through the field.
Yeah, and I see my man Brian Snare jumped up here into the 5th spot off of pit road. Him and Michael Mason-Gill have made maybe some quick 2-tire changes, trying to make something happen here as we get ready to go back to green. Definitely, I feel like 3 of the top cars are in the top 3 right now. Katie Osmond, Brandon Efford, and Brian Mescal Jr., they have all been quick. We're going to see some different names up front. Look at there, Damon Cox into the top 10. Like to see that car have a good finish to this year.
Yeah, that 57 has had some tough luck through some races here, sitting pretty inside the top 10 right now. Going to restart in the 7th position. Katie Osmond hits the loud pedal, and away we go. Green flag flies. Once again, here in the Autism Speaks, it's time to listen. 125 in the RFC Next Gen Light Electric Company ARC Menards K&N Series. Medford struggling on the outside to get it going. Brian Mescal Jr. looking to take over that 2nd spot. Not going to be able to get there by 3. Here comes Dustin Ping looking for the bottom, looking to make a move. He's gaining. He's going to be there by the exit of 4.
Yeah, and a gaggle of cars behind them. Brian Snare, Damon Cox, there's Troy Radford, Michael Mason-Gill. They are all clustered up together. Lance Yancey, Doug Lasaki, the top 10 pretty much in tow with the top 3 right now, but it is Brian Mescal Jr., Brandon Medford, Dustin Ping trying to run down Katie Osmond, who has stretched out a lead, Dave, down the back straightaway.
And more battles further through the field. We'll go all the way back here, 14th, 15th on track right now. Derek Robinson, Kendall Levron, Gordon Larson Jr., Thomas Light just a half a second back behind them. That's a battle from 13th all the way through 16th. So as we've already said here tonight, battles all over this racetrack as we jump up now with the 80 of Brian Littleton as he's trying to make the pass on Michael Mason-Gill. Troy Radford right there up in front of him.
Yeah, there is battles all around this racetrack. Just shocked to see how much competition is going on as we are coming to lap 30. Katie Osmond out front. Brandon Medford 2nd, Brian Mescal Jr. 3rd. Dave, he's been under some pressure the last few laps. Dustin Ping, this driver has come to fight here tonight out of Columbus, Indiana, putting up a fight. He's going to go to the bottom on Brian Mescal Jr. in turn 2.
Looking for the bottom run to work, but the momentum going to pay off, running the high side through 1 and 2 for the 33 of Mescal Jr. He opens up the gap now to 3-4 cars as he enters turn 3, but here comes Brian Snare, Damon Cox right there with him, and don't look now, but to the inside of Troy Radford, the 80 of Brian Littleton. Here he comes making his moves, trying to get to the top 5.
I'm telling you, this fight coming to the top 5 has been all kinds of crazy. Damon Cox now, Brian Littleton, Brian Snare, they are all holding off Troy Radford. Radford had a huge run in that opening segment as far as the top 3 goes. He's mirrored all the way back at 9th, and Lance Yancey's coming to the party now. So check out this battle now as the top 10 really try to battle within each other.
Yeah, and I said it coming to the restart. It's going to be a show coming up through the field for all these drivers that got the fresh tires. Brian Littleton, first of those drivers, sitting right there in the 4th position just in front of that 45 of Brian Snare. Damon Cox still trying to make his tires work, just about 10 laps older than Brian Littleton. But the rest of this field has those fresh tires. Lance Yancey now closing in on Dustin Ping as caution flag has flew. Once again, looks like maybe Gary Ragland, I'm hearing, may have been involved in this one, off-track excursion. So there you see that 11 with some issues. We'll go back, see what happened here.
Yeah, it looked like a little contact off the nose of that 47 of Ray Radford there, and Roy Hyde right there in the mix of that, Dave.
Yeah, it looked like maybe Ragland trying to come down the track, didn't know he wasn't quite clear yet. Tough spot for the spotters there, right across the nose of that 47, so that's going to put us under caution once again here from Kansas Speedway. So we'll go back live and back up front with Katie Osmond as he brings the field to a slow back behind that Chevy Silverado pace truck.
Yeah, but I'll tell you what, I was watching there in our scoring loop. Brandon Medford had ran down Katie Osmond. He was just about 2 car lengths off of the back bumper of that 88. So let's keep an eye on that, especially if we have a short go as far as the end of this race. Is that 83? I believe he's got a little bit of something under the hood for that 88 car, but we'll see how it shakes out as, Dave, we've got our leaders on pit road.
our leaders on to pit road. Looks like we are going to have a few drivers staying out. They did come to pit road the last time the caution flag flew. Brian Littleton going to stay out on track, assume the race lead, and that will bring some points the way of Dirty Air Racing. Lance Yancey right there in second as well. So Blackhawk Motorsports just before that caution was running most of their drivers, I believe, Cody, were all inside the top 10. So Blackhawk Motorsports going to lose a little bit of ground in the points right now as they are running, but this thing's not going to be official until it's all said and done with here tonight from Kansas Speedway. So the team points still all over the board, and we might see some drivers gambling just to get some team points. The 80 of Brian Littleton electing to stay out. Lance Yancey electing to stay out. So we'll have to see if this is a good gamble. They'll have a little bit of a buffer zone. Your top 7 all staying out on track under our latest caution.
Yeah, and if you're going to gamble, now's the time to do so. 34 laps into the 125 that make up the event. I think if you're going to gamble and take some shots, now's the time to do it. And that might be exactly what Dirty Air Racing is doing with the 80 and the 77. Get them out front. And then, of course, we know Brian Mescal's got a really solid car. It's just going to be a matter of getting those drivers up to the front the rest of the way. So we'll see how it plays out. At one point there a few moments ago, Blackhawk Motorsports pretty much dominated the top 5. So we'll see how it shakes out as we get ready to go back racing.
Yeah, and as we close in on about a quarter of the way through tonight's race, we'll double-check the weather. There you see it off to the side right there. 77 degrees is the ambient temperature. 78 degrees on the track. So the air temp and track temp has cooled off about 2 to 3 degrees here tonight. So grip should be getting a little bit better for these drivers. So, Cody, maybe that coming into play with some of the crew chief's calls to keep these drivers out there on some older tires. Not much of a discrepancy, just 10-lap difference on the tires. So I wonder if maybe the crew chief's thinking with the track cooling down, we're going to get a little more grip. Those older tires may come into the heat zone, you know what I'm saying, into the ideal temperature and hook up a little bit sooner and maybe be the way to go here.
Yeah, and we're not far as the last time cars were in pit road. Just 11 laps ago, Lance Yancey and these drivers were on pit road. So not a real big change. 23 laps prior to that. So I think as far as grip-wise go, yes, these guys that have came in and got completely fresh tires are going to have a little bit of an advantage. But I don't think it's going to be big enough to notice. Now, will we see some of the cars that are handling a little better come to the front a lot quicker? I think so. But I do believe the front row here, Brian Littleton and Lance Yancey, they had a really good run this last go. So I don't think they're going to fade too quickly, but we'll see how things shake out. I was looking at the leaderboard, and Katie Osmond's going to be back in 8th. Brandon Medford 10th, and Brian Mescal Jr. 11th. So let's see how, by far the best 3 cars in the field, let's see how they do when we go back to green here and put lap 37 on the board.
Yeah, and as the field makes their way into turn number 3, the Chevy Silverado pace truck going to get ready to make that left-hand turn, and we'll get set to go back green flag racing once again. And folks, you're going to hear the team points talked about an awful lot here tonight. That's the last thing on the line besides the race win. Katie Osmond already securing the points championship here in the season so far. Now Littleton with a good jump as the green flag flies here at Kansas Speedway. Lance Yancey sleeping there for just a moment as Kendall Levron looks just to the... Oh, and contact! Look to the inside of Lance Yancey, and I don't know how Lance Yancey's keeping that thing going. More contact as Larson Jr. into the back of that 77. How did Levron and Lance Yancey keep that thing straight? I do not know. But the field all stacked up, checked up, evasive maneuvers, and now we stay green flag racing. Lance Yancey dropping all the way to the 10th spot, and Gordon Larson Jr. now just behind him. And where did Kendall Levron fall? All the way back to the 20th spot. That 8 machine is hurt.
Yeah, he pulled the parachute rather quickly. I don't know if it's hurt or he just didn't want any part of that. Man, but hats off to those two. We're talking right in front of the field. It could have been catastrophe from third place on back, but they saved it. But I tell you what, Dave, Jimmy Hetrick took full advantage of that. As those two cars come together, he just simply gunned it through the middle of both of them and jumped out into this second spot right now. And he's following our leader, Brian Littleton, into turn 1 and 2.
Yeah, Littleton with a little bit over a second gap back to the 48 of Hetrick. Hetrick enjoying a 1 second gap back to the 38 of Derek Robinson. Robinson has the 83 of Brandon Medford on his trail. Damon Cox right there rounding out your top 5. Brian Snare, Dustin Pink, Brian Mescal Jr., Melvin Young, and Troy Radford round out your top 10. And off in the background there, you seen that 57 of Damon Cox get a little bit loose there on the exit of 4 as he's got Snare all over him.
Yeah, and good to see Damon battling up here in the top 5. Good to see that 57 car having a good run. There's Dustin Ping and Brian Mescal Jr. He is the mover right now out of those cars we were talking about getting mirrored back in the field. Katie Osmond's all the way back in 12th, and Brandon Medford now, he has moved up to 3rd. So Brian Mescal Jr. trying to come back up through the field right now. He's all over the back bumper of Dustin Ping. Actually might have bumped him there coming through the trioval.
Yeah, big time moment there coming off of 4. The 33 was all over the rear deck lid of the 57, made a move, and then was all over the spoiler of the 1. 33 is going to give up a little bit of ground now, calm back down, and try to reel back in the 1 of Dustin Ping as Damon Cox dropping 2 positions through turns 1 and 2. Brian Mescal Jr. has that Mountain Dew Arca Menards K&N car hooked up and moving towards the front with those fresh tires. We'll take a look back up at the front as Jimmy Hetrick has got caught by Brandon Medford. Medford looking to the bottom now with those fresh tires. 83 trying to make it work, trying to get the momentum by the time they get to 3. Gonna use the bottom lane. That hasn't been the line they want in 3. We'll see if he can keep it. Looks like he's going to be able to, so move Hetrick back into the 3rd spot and Medford up into 2nd.
Yeah, Medford up to 2nd. Right now, Dave, out of the front runners that were up front a lap, or shall I say 1 green flag session ago, if Brandon Medford can make quick work of Brian Littleton here, he's going to have a lot of room before you go back to Mescal Jr. He's still back in 7th, hasn't been able to get around Dustin Ping just yet. So if Brandon Medford can find a way to get around Littleton here, he's got a little bit of real estate to work with.
Yeah, a little bit of real estate back to Dustin Ping, Brian Snare, and Brian Mescal Jr., Troy Radford right there, Doug Wasaki. So a little bit of a buffer zone back to the guys with the same tires as Medford. So Medford looking to try to run down Littleton, and oh my goodness, contact with the outside wall. Derek Robinson hard into the outside wall. There you see him trying to shake that machine off of the wall as drivers going by very quick on the inside. Looks like he's going to keep it out there up on the high line right now as the 22 of Cody Terry makes a move to the inside, almost touching that 34. Oh my goodness, this is getting a little bit hairy now. The 9 making evasive moves on the 22. So after hard contact with the outside wall, the 38 of Derek Robinson loses a ton of ground all the way back now to the 16th spot.
Yeah, they're racing back in 16th, but Dave, we got a race for the lead. Brandon Medford to the point. He makes a big sweeping move on Brian Littleton and put the 83 out front. He had been stalking Brian Littleton for the last 2 laps. He realized how high he went into turn 3, and Medford just cut the corner in half and took advantage. So new leader on lap 46, it's Brandon Medford, who is back out front, leading Brian Littleton, Jimmy Hetrick, Dustin Ping, Brian Mescal Jr., your top 5.
And this very well may be what the crew chiefs needed to see here. The 10-lap difference may very well just be that big here, because Brandon Medford not only walked down the 80 of Littleton, but made the pass look pretty easy. All done in 1 corner, and now has stepped away to a half a second race lead over Littleton. So the difference in tires may just be that big here tonight, Cody. So look for Littleton and Hetrick to try to hang on to as much ground as they can, as they've got a slew of drivers all over them. Dustin Ping, Brian Mescal Jr. now right on the rear deck lid of that 48 into turn 3 and 4 right now. Mescal Jr. on the high side, Ping on the bottom. They're going to bring Radford with them as well as Snare.
Yeah, Jimmy Hendricks looks like a pace car right now, leading these cars around as he's got Mescal Jr., who I feel like is going to go to the bottom here in a few moments and get around that 48 car. Troy Radford's right there as well. Brian Snare. And how about Roy Hyde? We talked to him a little bit earlier about the incident he was involved in. He is up to 9th right now and is moving up through the field rather quickly. And man, talk about 2 for 1. Mescal Jr. just went around Brandon Memford Brian Littleton and Jimmy Hendrick, and we got a cluster for 3rd, Dave.
I'll tell you what, I see you're 2 for 1, and I'll raise you to 3 to 1 because Troy Radford got Hendrick, Littleton, and Mescal Jr. by the time they entered 3 and then got back to the start-finish line. So that 49 dialed up and moving to the front. Now into the 2nd position, Brian Mescal Jr. right there behind him in 3rd. And those drivers that stayed out, Cody, they might as well just have a parachute on the back end of their K&N cars right now because they are falling through the field. Hendrick back to 4th. Littleton from leading the race now back to the 6th spot, and he has got a ton of drivers right there with him. Brian Snare, Roy Hyde, Katie Osmond, and Doug Wasaki looking to pounce on Littleton.
Yeah, Roy Hyde just got into the outside retaining wall off of turn 2. He just lost all that momentum he had picked up. He had jumped ahead of Katie Osmond. Osmond now is rallied back up into 8th. He's following Brian Snare around the racetrack, but tough break there for Roy Hyde. It's going to drop him back to 10th after that contact. And man, business picked up here in the last 4 laps. From 3rd on back to about 7th it's been a race, just to say that for Elise.
Yeah, and there's still some more racing going on back here around that 10th spot. Michael Mason-Gill sitting right there in 11th. Melvin Young in 12th. Man on screen, the 57 of Damon Cox. And the 10 with trouble hits the wall. Damon Cox, more contact. Melvin Young going to go to the bottom of the track. Gordon Larson Jr. going to jump on the opportunity to move around both of those cars. Put Larson Jr. up into the 12th spot. So as we run, man, we've got these small little battles all over the track. Cody, now we're going to jump back up here with Dustin Ping, Brian Snare, and Jimmy Hendrick as Hendrick continues to try to stay and knock on the door of the podium. Now making his way by Brian Mescal Jr. back into the 3rd spot.
Yeah, not sure if Mescal Jr. lost some ground there. Might have got into the outside retaining wall. Jimmy Hendrick, a man on a mission here on these older tires, just drove back around the 33. Not sure if Mescal Jr. got into the outside retaining wall. If he did, I don't see any damage to the outside of that 33 machine. And Dustin Ping now side by side for that 3rd spot with Jimmy Hendrick.
Yeah, and I think we're going to see that happen a lot here. Not drivers getting into that outside wall, but drivers losing some momentum, avoiding getting in to that outside wall. And this is a track that if you're out of the gas a split second longer than what you need to be, you're going to get eaten up pretty quickly, as momentum is a very, very big thing here at Kansas Speedway as we work our way now on lap 54 out of the 125 scheduled in the official race distance. We will have one attempt at a green-white checker tonight should we need it, but I think we're going to see ourselves have a long green flag run here. Drivers onto pit road last on lap 33. Multiple drivers out there, such as Hendrick, out there since lap 23. So the fuel strategy going to come into play here, I would say, in the next 10 to 15 laps, Cody. And then most of these drivers are going to be barely on the outside of the fuel window looking in.
Yeah, and we're roughly, say, for instance, about 7-8 laps away, somewhere between 7 and 8 laps away from halfway in this one, as we see. Pretty impressed right now with Jimmy Hendrick. He had fell back. Looked like those tires had pretty much bit the dust, but he has rallied back and driven back around Ping, Mescal Jr., and he is up to 3rd. And, Dave, he started to pull away, so I don't know if maybe he was saving a little bit, trying to get a little bit of a run, but fuel is definitely going to be the big question mark for that 48. But if the cautions could fall right, it looks like he has a pretty good Ally 48 machine.
And sitting right now, another driver that has a pretty good-looking machine, and that's a driver that made his way back up through the field and into the second spot, maintaining well right now, is that 49 of Troy Radford. Radford working off of turn 4 back across the stripe here, about 2.1 seconds back behind Brandon Medford, and he enjoys about the same distance back to the driver behind him, Jimmy Hedrick, sitting in the third spot. So as the field slowly begins to stretch out, we start to see some of these battles dissipate and go away, but we are still battling for the 5th and 6th spot. Dustin Ping, Brian Snare right now heading into turn 3.
Yeah, heading into turn 3 and racing as hard as they've raced all night. Brian Snare, I told you he was one of the guys that this year we've had a really good look at him from off and on this season. And right now he's working on Ping. That is a battle for the 5th spot. Snare goes to the outside, and he might have the momentum off the tube. It looks like Ping's going to hold the ground on the bottom. Dave, I feel like the bottom of the racetrack has started to come in a little better in 1 and 2.
Yeah, it looks like drivers migrating from the top down to the bottom in 1 and 2, and going from the bottom to the top in 3 and 4. Going to the bottom in 3 and 4 when they need to make the pass. There you see the run, the slide job right in front of the one of Dustin Ping. Move that 45 of Brian Snare up the spot. And I tell you what, why don't we go down on board now with one of our onboard cameras here on the Turn 3 Racing Network. Let's go on board with that 45 of Brian Snare. And Cody, something I'm noticing here, not a lot of wheel movement out of Snare. The wheel looks to be pretty smooth, not a lot of counter action. There you see a little bit of steer to the right on the corner exit of 4 there, but car looks to be handling pretty well as Snare starting to slowly walk down Osmond and Hetrick.
Yeah, I'm telling you what, that is a good thing. If you can have a car you don't have to work the wheel in one of these machines, that is great, because we've seen these cars whip loose in an instant. I'm talking about one little move the wrong way, and these cars will come out from under you. And right now, that 45 machine, you was talking about it, it looks like he is very comfortable. It's looked like we've got Jimmy Hetrick coming to pit road.
Yeah, a Hetrick on to pit road this time by, but Cody, Terry, Lance Yancey, and Damon Cox all on to pit road the previous lap. So look for green flag pit stops to begin, as they already have, so don't look for them to begin. They are underway. How long will Medford, Radford, and Osmond stay out on track after Hetrick coming to pit road looking for the undercut? We'll have to see how much time he can make up. Looks like the pit delta sitting somewhere right around the 44 to 46 second mark, all depending on how well you get onto pit road. More drivers to pit road this time by Brian Littleton, bringing his machine down. He's had enough of the old tires. He wants some fresh ones. No, we'll just have to wait and see how many other drivers come. Looks like Thomas Light, Derek Robinson, Gordon Larson Jr. all to pit road this time by.
Yeah, I don't think you can patiently wait. I think once you start to see guys on pit road, you got to make it happen. We've seen what fresh tires could do on that last restart. So I feel like once we've started seeing some folks come to pit road, we're going to have to start seeing more drivers come to pit road. But right now, I'm pretty impressed with what Brandon Medford has been able to do. He's kept about a 2-second gap over Troy Radford. Radford hasn't really been able to gain on him at all, Dave, and that's pretty impressive.
Yeah, and I mean, Radford able to maintain his gap over the third place driver was Hetrick for the moment. Now that 88 of Katie Osmond sitting right about 2 seconds back from Radford. And I wonder just how long these drivers are going to stay out. We do know most of them do have at least 10 laps of fuel more in their car than all of the drivers that have been to pit road. But how long do you stretch it here? You know you got a buffer zone. Do you stretch this thing on out, save a little bit of fuel, and put it to where you know for sure you're not going to have to come to pit road? Because I think some of these drivers, Brian Littleton, Jimmy Hetrick, Gordon Larson Jr., Damon Cox, I think all of them are going to be knocking on the door of, well, never mind, that goes out the window. Mark Vyers seems to be involved in another incident here. We'll take a look back here, see what happened.
Dave, he just got T-boned by our champion, Katie Osmond.
And Brian Snare catches the end of this one, too, after having a great run. Oh, my goodness. Looks like Mark Vyers just snapped loose there on the apron coming off of pit road. And then Katie Osmond barreling in. The 45 of Brian Snare, nowhere to go. Both of those drivers, oh, that's a hard lick there for Osmond. Oh, my goodness.
Yes, it is, and how crazy is it? We've talked all year, if Katie had any trouble, what it could do for the rest of the points. And this week, he has trouble when the championship's wrapped up. Crazy how that works out.
Yeah, I mean, this is what, and I don't wish a bad race or a bad race night on anybody at any given time. But this is exactly what the field needed 3-4 weeks ago. They needed Osmond to have a night where he was put behind the 8 ball and going to go down multiple laps here. After that hard contact, I would probably venture to say his night would more than likely be over. And that would have allowed this field to make up some ground. But unfortunately, nobody able to do so. And Osmond, as you said, already secured the championship here tonight. But what that does do, Cody, that puts the team points in a pretty big shakeup, because that's 2 drivers now that are not going to get quite as many points as what they were.
Yeah, that's going to hurt Blackhawk Motorsports. I mean, KD and Brian Snare were both under that stable. They still have Dustin Ping and Mike Mason-Gill as far as competitive on the racetrack, but that is most definitely going to hurt the chances for the Blackhawk Motorsports team with the 88 and the 45 getting damage on that run. So that may seal it as far as Dirty Air Racing and Falcon Motorsports. It may be between them from here on out, but tough break for those 2.
Yeah, and I mean, that's just what you're not wanting to happen here tonight. Obviously, you're not wanting to happen any night, but coming down this close in the team championship standings, to have 2 of your cars torn up in one incident, definitely not something that the team owner would like to see. But so much is racing, and that's why we do it. You otherwise, I mean, what do we do? Just put the numbers in a hat and draw them?
Well, possibly. I mean, we could just have them go out there and race each other, I guess, if anybody wants to get involved in that. But I'm sure there's a tiebreaker somewhere.
Well, I'm sure there is. What it is, I don't know, though. That's not surprising, is it? All right, field catching back up to the pace car. Troy Radford, first driver on and off pit road. There you see the 98 of Thomas Light, Damon Cox, and I believe Cody Terry lined up just in front of him. Those are the drivers that are going to receive a waiver round, and that will put us with 16 drivers left on the lead lap. Multiple drivers caught up in some pretty rough, pretty bad incidents here tonight. Few of them able to continue on. Travis Smith, one of those drivers, caught up 2 or 3 times here tonight. Still out there running right now, sitting multiple laps down, but sitting in the 23rd position, 8 laps down as we speak. And Osmond and Snare falling through the field as well. And that's just gonna help their rivals here, Cody. Blackhawk Motorsports, as we already said here under this caution, that very well may have ended their championship hope and dreams.
Yeah, now they're not going to completely get out of the cars. I was looking on pit road, Brian Snare and Katie Osmond, they are both still sitting in their race cars as the crews are going to work. But needless to say, that's going to dampen the possibilities of what they might have going on. As I was looking there, maybe some trouble for Dustin Ping. Dustin Ping had pulled to the apron there in turn 1. Not sure if there's something wrong with that number 1 machine. He has come to a complete stop in turn 1. So maybe that is big time trouble for Blackhawk Motorsports now.
Yeah, and it looks like now Dustin Ping actually being shown back on pit road. So not quite sure what happened with the 1 machine, but that's more than likely going to be the nail in the coffin, because it doesn't look like he's going to be able to get out there and fired back up and catch back up with the field as they make their way off of turn number 4. We'll get set to go back. Green flag racing next time by. And this very well may just put Ping down one lap. And as I already said, that's going to spell some trouble here for Black Hawk Motorsports. There you see it. There you have it now. Dustin Ping also being scored off of the lead lap. So take the championship dry erase board. Go ahead and mark off Black Hawk Motorsports. This is down to a 2-team chase now. Can Falcon Motorsports dethrone Dirty Air Racing here tonight? It has been a ping-pong seesaw battle all year long, Cody. And now we've got Roy Hyde, Brian Mescal Jr. right there knocking on the door of the top 2 spots. 3rd and 4th, Brandon Medford, Troy Radford right there in 1st and 2nd. So we've got a battle right here.
Yeah, Mescal Jr. 3rd. Also, you was looking there, Lance Yancey. He's back in 16th, which still has him ahead of Katie Osmond and Brian Snare and Dustin Ping. So that would put 2 of those Dirty Air Racing cars in the top 20. And also Brian Littleton, he's in 7th. And I was looking there for Travis Smith. Smith's still on the racetrack, so that gives them at least 4 drivers to count points. Now, I was looking at Falcon Motorsports. They do have Doug Wasaki. He's in 14th right now. Troy Radford, of course, leading the race. Brandon Medford on the racetrack. And I was looking down the list. Chris Medford on there as well. So all 4 drivers, as we're back green out of turn 4, all 8 still competing for Dirty Air and Falcon Motorsports with 70 laps in.
Yeah, all the drivers for both of those teams still represented on track, but some of them a little bit behind the 8 ball. The 77 of Lance Yancey being scored in the lucky dog position in that 16th spot. But most importantly right now, the top 2 positions being held by Troy Radford and Brandon Medford. Brian Mescal Jr. and Roy Hyde, they're going to have to break up that party somehow, some way, and try to gain a few more positions. Damon Cox right there in 12th. You've already mentioned Lance Yancey and Brian Littleton right there running in the 6th spot, knocking on the door of the top 5. And Brian Mescal Jr. drops to the bottom in 1 and 2, looking for that 2nd spot. Medford with the run. He's going to keep Mescal Jr. behind him as they head to 3.
Yeah, Mescal Jr. had it briefly off of turn 2. Medford rallied back. He took it back down the back straightaway and off of turn 4. Medford's going to come back and have the 2nd spot. So watch those 2 compete back and forth. Roy Hyde is now back to 4th. But Dave, I will say this, Dirty Air Racing come in with that 15-point cushion. I feel like at this point, Brian Mescal Jr. and Dirty Air Racing, if they can stay where they are, they can take that 15-point advantage they had coming in and hang on to it.
It's going to be awfully close with Radford in 1st and Medford in 2nd. Also, Ray Radford being scored on the lead lap in the 15th position. So 3 of their drivers on the lead lap in good scoring positions. Doug Wasaki right there as well in the 13th spot for Falcon Motorsports. So a lot of big points positions for Falcon Motorsports. Lance Yancey off of the lead lap right now, so they're giving up a little bit of ground right there. Giving up a little bit of ground with those top 2 spots. So it's going to be, man, it's going to be close.
Yeah, and I was looking back through the field, and Jimmy Hetrick must have had a terrible pit stop or something. He's all the way back in 14th. So whatever that team had going on in that opening run, he has fell way back. But a driver we haven't talked about a lot, he slowly moved up through the field. Thomas Light in the Light Electric Company ARCA Menards number 98. He has somewhat moved up into the top 15. He's running 12th right now in that 98 machine. Good to see him have a good run, Dave. These last few weeks for that 98 car have been rough.
Yeah, they have, and, good to see him knocking on the door of the top 10. He's got to get up there and try to run down Gordon Larson Jr. and Damon Cox to make it into that top 10 as we cross the line to begin lap 75 out of the 125 scheduled in the official race distance here tonight from Kansas Speedway. And the Autism Speaks. It's time to listen 125. We've got a lot of drivers with some good runs. Here comes Michael Mason-Gill passing Roy Hyde. Eric Blount right there, multiple laps down, maybe causing a little bit of congestion, but trying to get everything he can because he's still battling in the points here for tonight's race. 2nd on back through about 7th or 8th in the point standings, still up for grabs. So these drivers out there trying to get everything they can. And Roy Hyde, having a little bit of trouble getting by that 6. Michael Mason-Gill still running the bottom lane. Almost contact between the 4, the 00, and the 8. That could have been trouble for Kendall Levron, and what a recovery by Levron.
Yeah, what a recovery by Levron, as I think that was Eric Blunt that might have got into that outside retaining wall that stacked up that group. But Roy Hyde now back up to 6th. Kendall Levron 7th. Derek Robertson 8th. Gordon Larson Jr. 9th. That is rounding out your top 10 with Damon Cox back there. Him and Lance Yancey are side by side. But Dave, the battle for the lead, these front 3 have simply pulled away. And I'm telling you what, there's about a car length, maybe 2 car lengths separating each one of these top 3. And they have been going at it as lap 78 goes on the board.
Yeah, and it looks like timing scoring having a little bit of issues and some trouble right here. Not sure who that was. Let's check on him right here. That's Cody Terry. Looked like Cody was off the pace there for just a brief moment down there around the 150 miles an hour, but everything looks to be fine with that 22. So we'll jump back up front with the battle going on for the race lead. This 3-car battle, Troy Radford, Brandon Medford, Brian Mescal Jr., all right here, all over each other.
Yeah, they're battling. You notice that car just off in the distance. That is Travis Smith. He is multiple laps down after that incident earlier. But he is hanging tough, believe it or not, with these front 3. These front 3 have pulled away. And that car, even with some damage, being that Travis Smith number 9 machine, has stayed in tow with these first 3. I think that is pretty impressive as he now races to the bottom of Brian Mescal Jr. Don't know how much he wants to force the issue with the front 3, though, especially with the team captain there just in front of him.
Yeah, definitely not something you're going to be pushing the envelope on, as now you see the 9 fade back just a little bit, give a little bit more running room to that 33 of Brian Mescal Jr. as the top 2 have slowly stepped away there from Mescal Jr. just a little bit back down the backstretch and into turn number 3. And these drivers, Cody, they're going to be very close to making it on fuel. I think everybody going to have to come back to pit road at least one more time. But your top 3 enjoying a big lead over the rest of the field. Got to go 6 seconds back to this little pack of cars battling for position. Brian Littleton in the 4th spot. Michael Mason-Gill right there in 5th. 6th to Roy Hyde. 7th, Kendall Levron. Another battle going on here. Right there. There you see the 38 of Derek Robinson. Doug Wasaki just about 1 second off of him. There you see in the distance the 77 of Lance Yancey. He's the first car 1 lap down, and he's trying to get his way up through the field and make some moves if he can gain all the spots that he can for his team here. But still a long race on our hands here, just over 40 laps remaining.
Yeah, Troy Radford just slammed the outside retaining wall. I don't know what happened, but Smith just got into the back bumper of that 49 as well. I don't know what happened to Troy Radford going into turn 1, but Medford passed him like he was setting still, and then Travis Smith caught him so fast he couldn't avoid him, and he slammed into the back bumper of that 49, and that's going to get Brian Mescal Jr. now side by side with Radford. Not sure what caused that between the top 2 teammates at the front of the field, but it was definite contact there with Falcon Motorsports drivers. But right now, Brian Mescal Jr. and Troy Radford battling for that 2nd spot, Dave, and a teammate helping push that 33 car by.
Yeah, and I think that may have been some of the strategy there for that 9 of Travis Smith, just to kind of stay tucked in with his teammate. You seen that he was able to get right beside him a few laps ago and elected to back off and stay right behind him. I think that was the plan. You know, just stay with me. If something happens here, you can help push me on by these guys. And whatever did happen and take place between the 49 and the 83 doesn't look like it affected the cars too much. The 49 obviously bearing the brunt of that incident, as way up the track goes the 33, almost into that outside wall. As the 49 going to close in a little bit here off of 4. And the 9 of Travis Smith going to go by, put Smith, well, not into second, as Smith is multiple laps down here tonight.
Yeah, and you know, this is to prove that what Brandon Medford did in that first long green flag run, not to be just kind of a joke. You know, he has gapped this field once again. This is second time we've seen this 83 machine get clean air and simply set sail. By far showing him as the car to beat right now. But that battle for second, Dave, is far from over, coming back into the tri-oval.
Yeah, and as we watch our race leader for just a brief moment, we'll go back here to the battle for second between Brian Mescal Jr. and Troy Radford. And I don't know that the gap there for your race leader, Cody, I don't know that it's necessarily the dominant car as much as the issue is, Travis Smith into the outside wall. Big moment there off of turn number 2 for the 9 of Smith. He gets it right and headed in the right direction. But I think maybe some of it was, or the majority of it may have been the incident that occurred between those two drivers, and Radford just having to jump out of the gas and fall to the wayside for just a brief moment. But not going to take anything away from Brandon Medford, because not only did he snatch the lead, but he's starting to grow that gap back to Brian Mescal Jr.
Tell you what, there's a driver right now prowling on the back bumper of that 49 machine, a guy who we thought might be done for the night, but that crew has put that 88 machine back together. K.D. Osmond now going to the bottom. He's going to go around Troy Radford. We saw this car almost demolished about 10 laps ago. Man, he's already flying, and he's going around second and third place, even though he is multiple laps down.
Yeah, multiple laps down with much fresher tires. Going to make the job look easy, as Osmond not only gets by the 49, but also takes a shot at that 33 and puts him back behind him. He'll go up and try to gain one of his laps back the good old-fashioned way. And we're going to look through timing and scoring here, Cody. Jump back now to the battle for 6th and 7th as it's heated up between Kendall Levron and the 38 of Derek Robinson. Down there on the bottom, they've got the lap machine of Lance Yancey just in front of them. Lance still being scored as the first car off the lead lap in the lucky dog position. I'll get it right eventually. I know I will.
Yeah, Derek Robinson just used the old blocker there for a minute. He shoved Kendall Levron up to the back bumper of Lance Yancey and gave Levron nowhere to go, but momentum has put Kendall Levron back by him on the outside, so put the 8 car back up into that 6th spot. Robinson 7th. Still a good run for that 38 of Derek Robinson. Good to see this team putting out a good effort. I got to give a shout out to the folks there in the HRL2 Motorsports, the 38 and the 6. Shout out to those two drivers. They've had a real up and down year, but it looks like both him and Eric Blunt having somewhat of a decent night here tonight.
Yeah, now 38 knocking on the door of a top 5, sitting in the 7th position. He's got to get by Kendall Levron just in front of him. Brian Littleton not too much further in front of Levron. So that top 5 very much doable here for the 38 of Robinson as we cross the line to begin lap 91 out of the 125 scheduled in the official race distance. And Cody, we're going to see some of these drivers begin to hit pit road here very soon. I would expect within the next 10 laps or so, we should see our final round of green flag pit stops, as up at the front, the 83 continues to enjoy a 2-second race lead over the 33 of Brian Mescal Jr.
Yeah, and I think Brandon Medford just went, shoo. I'm glad that K.D. Osmond is a lap down, because he just flew by me like a rocket ship. That 88 just nosedived around the 83, so Medford's probably glad that 88 car is multiple laps down. But Dave, we saw him get to a 2-second advantage a little bit earlier in the run, and once he gets out there, he has just simply been able to pull away from anybody behind him. And Brian Mescal Jr. right now, he is watching that 83 get smaller and smaller as laps wind down.
Yeah, and the only thing that can be good in Brian Mescal Jr.'s heart right now is looking out the windshield and seeing that 83 get smaller, but looking in the side mirror, in the rear view mirror, and seeing that 49 of Troy Radford also getting smaller. So as disheartening as seeing that 83 step away, a little bit glad that you're getting some space behind you, walking away from that 49 of Troy Radford. And then these front 3, Cody, they have absolutely torn away from the field. 10 seconds all the way back to the 4th place runner on screen right now, the 4 of Michael Mason Gill, as he crosses the line, heads into turn number 1 here on lap 94. So your top 3 have just absolutely walked away from the field. as it looks like we do got green flag pit stops. Damon Cox bringing his 57 machine to pit road this time by.
Yeah, and you mentioned a name there a minute ago that I wanted to say something about. We haven't got to talk about him a lot this year, but the team captain for one of those teams that we were talking about in the hunt, Blackhawk Motorsports, Mike Mason-Gill. What a run for that 4 machine. Running 4th right now. He has had the worst of luck in 2020, to say the least. But that number 4 car, great running car tonight. He's been in the top 10 most of the event, but he's found himself here in this long green flag run in the top 5. So good run for him, up 21 spots on this last green flag run.
Yeah, biggest mover of the night, that is for sure, up 21 spots from where he started tonight's race, and kind of in no man's land here right now, running in a comfortable 4th place. Troy Radford about 8.2 seconds out in front of him, and he enjoys a 2.3 second gap back to the 5th place runner of Brian Littleton. So Mason-Gill able to just kind of take a Sunday stroll here a little bit, be a little bit easier on the fuel and tires, and we may see that come into play and come into his advantage a little bit later. We'll just have to see how it all shakes out as we're slowly closing in on the 25 lap remaining mark. We've got about 30 laps actually remaining here as the field makes their way by the stripe. Lap 97 out of 125 scheduled in tonight's Autism Speaks. It's time to listen. 125.
Yeah, and Troy Radford has just driven all the way up to Mescal Jr. and got to that 2nd spot. In the last 3 laps, Troy Radford has just been flying around this racetrack, and he has put that 49 machine back up to 2nd place. So Troy Radford finding something here in this long green flag run, as we are just 2 laps away from the 100 lap mark.
Yeah, but something I see right behind that 49 of Radford is a teammate, the 84 of Chris Medford. Sure, he's down multiple laps here tonight, but able to possibly get linked up with the 49. 2 cars are faster than one. We seen the 9 of Travis Smith help his teammate by that 49. Maybe the 84 repaid the favor for Radford, but once Radford was able to step on by Mescal Jr., just kind of let it happen and said, all right, go ahead, have at it, as more cars to pit road. Michael Mason-Gill brings his car to pit road. Brian Littleton, Gordon Larson Jr., Thomas Light, Roy Hine, Lance Yancey, and Kendall Levron all to pit road.
Yeah, and I think you're going to start to see some of our leaders start coming that way too. If you start getting people in the top 10 coming to pit road, you're going to have to do something, because they are going to be gaining ground, so to speak. Those fresh tires have seemed to make a little bit of a difference. But right now, Medford, Radford, Mescal Jr., they stay out with 26 laps to go.
Yeah, and this is going to shake up the field for sure, as now Jimmy Hedrick brings his 48 machine to pit road. He'll give up the 4th spot, drop now to 5th as Ray Radford stays out on track. So that's going to give us just 5 cars remaining on the lead lap, as long as none of your lead cars hit pit road this time. And looks like Troy Radford, Brandon Medford both to hit pit road. Brian Mescal Jr. bringing the 33 down right behind Radford, not letting him have any advantage over him. And Doug Wasaki will take over the lead of the race. Nope, Wasaki going to bring it to pit road this time by as well. Ray Radford in the 47 now going to be the race leader, unless he decides to bring his machine to pit road. And now all the leaders to pit road all at the same time.
Yeah, we got them all on pit road at the same time, and I think that's going to set us up for something here if they can all get off of pit road clean and good to go. Waiting to see. Medford's rolling. Radford's still setting still. Long pit stop for that 49. That's going to give Medford a little bit of a gap, Dave.
And it looks like 1 second longer on pit road for Radford than Medford. And that's going to help out Brian Mescal Jr. and Mescal Jr. with a long pit road as well. So that's going to mix up the field right there. But look at the front. Derek Robinson on and off pit road. Very, very clean. 44.85 second stop for the driver of that 38 machine. And he is closing the distance and closing it fast.
Yeah, he is, Dave. And evidently that crew came out with, and up against the outside retaining wall. Cody Terry just outside of Derek Robinson there in 3 and 4. Good thing he was way up high. But right now, Derek Robertson will try and see if he can do anything with the top 3. But it's Brandon Medford, Troy Radford, Brian Maskell Jr., Derek Robinson, and Michael Mason-Gill rounding out the top 5.
Yeah, and it looks like through the green flag pit cycle, nobody able to really do much with Brandon Medford. He actually opened up that race lead now just at the 4-second mark. Troy Radford opening up his advantage over Brian Maskell Jr. just slightly now to a 2-second mark. Derek Robinson improving and gaining some time, but still 4 seconds back. Michael Mason-Gill sitting 8 seconds back. Jimmy Hetrick sitting in 6th, almost 10 seconds back. And Cody, this has been such a fast-paced, long green flag run here. We're left now with just 12 drivers on the lead lap out of the 26 that took to the starting grid for tonight's race.
Yeah, and if you're Brian Maskell Jr., Derek Robinson, Mike Mason-Gill, or Jimmy Hetrick, you got to be thinking yellow, yellow, yellow. One more caution to stack this thing back up. But if you're Brandon Medford and you're Troy Radford, you're saying, hey, we are good to go. Dave, I don't see him coming back to pit road anytime soon, even with a caution coming out. I don't see anybody in that top 5 coming to pit road.
Yeah, and the number of tires these drivers have in their pits is also going to come into factor. Keep in mind, we've had 5 cautions here tonight. So I wonder if these drivers have burned through their tires, if anybody has got an extra set. Because if you get a caution, I would think with about 10 laps to go, I think anything less than 10 laps to go when we go back green is going to be just a little too late to get those fresh tires to work. Because we've seen it, Cody. 10 laps difference of tires means a huge difference. So look for some of these drivers possibly to gamble and come down and get 4 fresh tires if we can get a caution here in the next 5 or 6 laps.
Yeah, and I don't know how big of a factor, this being a bigger track, I do think lap traffic is going to play a big factor. But Medford is going to be around a lot of cars the rest of the way. He just now got around Travis Smith there to put him another lap down. But that 83 machine, I don't see a ton of traffic to be in front of him. But he is going to be working around some other vehicles as now make it 19 laps to go.
Yeah, with just 19 laps to go, Brandon Medford, he can kind of pick and choose when he decides to get around some of the lap cars. He can be a little bit more methodical about his passing as he enjoys a 3.2-second race lead over Troy Radford. Radford enjoying a 1.7 race lead over Brian Maskell Jr. So all the drivers at the front, they've got some gap. They've got some distance to play with because it's a huge amount back to the rest of the field. The 4th place runner sitting 12 seconds behind your race leader. That's close to just about half a track back to the 4th place runner. That is absolutely phenomenal.
Yeah, they have set a uncharacteristic pace so far in this event. I tell you what, it has been impressive to see those 3. And Dave, it wasn't like it was just, it took them a while to do it either. On the green flag, they pretty much checked out once the green flag dropped. They did it twice now as we come to 16 laps to go. I would say it's very true. The top 3 drivers of the race tonight are right now 1, 2, 3 in the field.
Yeah, the only one I'd throw in there is Katie Osmond. Osmond was up there at the front of the field leading for quite some time. Led briefly here earlier in the race, and unfortunately some contact took that 88 out of making a big run to the end of the season and walking away with multiple wins in the final races. So even with Osmond out of it, I still think the cream has risen to the top. I think your top 3 are your best cars out there on track. And, as a pure race fan, I'd like to see it play out. But as an action fan, I'm with some of the drivers. I think there's a couple water bottles out there on the backstretch that we might need to clean up.
I totally agree with you. I mean, I would love to see these 3 stacked back up for one more go. And I say 3, but you never know. Derek Robinson, Mike Mason-Gill have had really good runs. And Jimmy Hedrick, who I talked about, was all the way back in 19th. Actually, when we went back to green, has fought all the way back up to 6th. So, yeah, the caution flag has happened to fly. We could see something very interesting here as we come to 14 laps to go. But, Dave, you talked about KD and how impressive he's been as far as streaks. When we got to the halfway point of the season, we left Talladega. Halfway point of the year, we took a break, and we come back and went back to Daytona. He picked up a win at Daytona. That was his first win of the season. And since then, he's put 4 on the board since the halfway point, pretty much sealed up the championship. So the first half of the year, he gave everybody an opportunity to play nice. And then he went to work.
Well, you know, and we mentioned he gave everybody the opportunity by playing nice. But I don't know. I somewhat disagree, because if you look at the rest of the stats for Osborne on the season, nobody touches them when it gets to the top 5s. I mean, not even the top 10s. The amount of top 10s that 88 crew has been able to string together has been second to none. I think across any season in any series here in the Next Gen Racing Leagues. So, I mean, just the consistency for Osborne this year has been out of this world. I've never seen anything like it for a driver to only have what I think it is, Cody, maybe 2 finishes of a season not in the top 10. I mean, that is just phenomenal.
Oh, most definitely. And, I mean, coming into tonight, it's just crazy to think 17 starts, 16 top 10s. I mean, that's unheard of. He's going to have 18 starts when this is done, and he's going to finish inside of the top 10, 16 of the 18 races. That is just unheard of. But I tell you what, somebody else that I'm impressed with, I mentioned in the opening, this was a guy to watch. I felt like him being in second place in points coming in, he had earned that over the last 4 or 5 races, and that's the guy out front right now, Brandon Mefford. He has really shown how good that 83 car can be once it got in clean air, and he has simply left this field in the dust.
Yeah, he's got the lead, and he is stepped away from the field. Now the gap knocking on the door of a 4-second difference back to the 49 of Troy Radford, and we know it's not because Radford's not a good driver. Radford is one of the top-tier drivers here in the RFC Next Gen Light Electric Company ARCA Menard Series, and Medford able to just walk away right now, and it's kind of worrisome, kind of troublesome that it's took this long for Medford to really dominate a race the way that he was running a few of these races earlier this season.
Yeah, most definitely. I mean, it's just impressive to see what he has been able to accomplish here today. And, you know, we was talking about the top 5 a minute ago. Jimmy Hetrick just got around Michael Mason-Gill. So as far as battles on the track, I'm watching this 4th, 5th place battle as Jimmy's now starting to work up on the back bumper of Derek Robinson. So if anybody's able to make up any gain any ground or make any passes, there's still a fight right now for 4th. There's about 12 car lengths separating those two as 9 laps to go.
Yeah, and looking at the timing scoring, it does look like Hetrick will be able to catch him. But as we all know in the racing world, catching them is one thing, passing them is another. With 8 laps to go, 7 when we cross the line this time by, will Hetrick have enough time to make the pass? It's going to be close here in timing and scoring, and what we're looking at says he's going to catch him with 2 laps to go, so that's going to give Hetrick a short time to try to make the best maneuver that he can, but he is right there, man, all over that 38.
Yeah, Robinson washed up high in 1 and 2. Hetrick went to the bottom, and I'm telling you what, he's trying to set up Robinson to use Radford as a pick. That 47's working the high side, and that's where Robinson wants to be. Jimmy Hetrick's going to give him that high side and work to the bottom now with 7 laps to go. We'll see if he's able to do anything this time as he dives to the bottom in 1 and 2.
Diving to the bottom in 1 and 2, the 48 trying to make that pass on Robinson. Robinson keeping that 38 machine wound up as Lance Yancey kind of stays out of it just behind these two, battling for position on track, battling for the 4th spot. Who's going to take it? Who's going to walk away with the 5th place here? Hetrick trying to make that 48 Ally machine high, wide, and handsome, trying to make it work. Not going to happen here through the trioval. The 38 going to drop to the bottom here. We'll have to wait to see if the high line works. Here comes the momentum. Here comes the run. Here comes Hetrick off of 2.
Hetrick's going to take the drag race down the back straightaway. He's going to have the position. Jimmy Hetrick up to 4th. He's going to go ahead of Derek Robinson. Robinson's going to fight back, though, and Hetrick goes up into the outside retaining wall. Oh, man, Dave, he had to be within, I don't know, centimeters from that outside retaining wall, but the P4 goes to the 48.
Yeah, just, paper widths in between the right side of that 48 car in that outside wall, but that's what it takes sometimes to get the pass done, and that's what he does, put the 48 up there into that 4th spot, taking it away from the 38 of Derek Robinson, falling back down to the 5th spot. And I do want to take a moment here with 4 laps to go to just give a little more insight on the team standings here. Falcon Motorsports sitting 1 and 2 right now. Dirty Air Racing sitting in 3rd, but then look 6th, 7th on track. Dirty Air Motorsports drivers Brian Littleton, Roy Hyde. Then you've got the 57 of Damon Cox, Lance Yancey sitting in the 14th spot. Ray Radford helping out Falcon Motorsports, sitting as the last car on the lead lap in 13th. Doug Wasaki in the 34, sitting in 10th. So the points all over the board here, Cody. This is going to be a close one coming to the end for the season championship as Brandon Medford makes his way down the backstretch back into turn 3 with just 2 laps to go when we cross the stripe this time by.
Yeah, Popsicle Stick's going to go in the air for that 83 machine. He has been the dominant car once he found clean air. Out of Knightstown, Indiana, the ALS number 83 machine, I would say more so has led the most laps, unofficially led possibly the most laps tonight. And once he was able to get clean air, even after that interesting incident in turn 1, where he just simply had to force through that almost incident in turn 1, he has been the man to beat. And out of turns 3 and 4, Dave, he's coming to the white flag.
Out of 3 and 4 here, coming to the stripe to get the white flag. So next flag ends the race. White flag in the air. Medford into turn 1 for the final time. We'll go a little closer. Look at that driver's eyes. Wide open, focused, ready to walk away with the race win off of 2 and down the back stretch. Here comes that 83 of Brandon Medford. He's going to put this ALS Association RFC NEXTGEN Light Electric Company Arca Menards K&N car into victory lane off of 4 for the final time. To the stripe, your race winner, the 83 of Brandon Medford.
Medford for the 2nd time this season going to go to victory lane. 2nd place going to go to Troy Radford, Brian Muskell Jr. 3rd, Jimmy Hetrick 4th, and Derek Robinson. Dave, what a run for that 38 machine. He's going to round out the top 5.
Yeah, Robinson coming across the stripe right there to seal the deal on that top 5. Brian Littleton, Thomas Light crossing the line just behind them. Thomas able to make up 1 position there, passing Roy Hyde, and that could be very crucial coming to the end of the race here. That 1 spot could mean all the difference in the world in the team standings, but we know one thing, or we know 2 things. That is for sure. Your race winner, the 83 of Brandon Medford, and your season champion, the 88 of KD Osmond. We'll try to wait and see if we can get some word and confirmation on the team standings. But nonetheless, the 83 walking away with a great race win. So we'll set things up for the post-race interview. So don't go anywhere, ladies and gentlemen. We'll be right back. Backtrack side as the race has come to a close. The Autism Speaks. It's time to listen. 125 is in the books, and man, what a race it was. And I believe my good buddy Cody has been able to catch up with the driver, finishing in third here tonight.
Probably.
Yeah, Dave, I just now got up to Brian Mescal Jr. Brian, man, you had by far one of the top 3 fastest cars. A little bit of an issue. It looked like they're on that last pit stop, got kind of behind the 8 ball a little bit. But tell us about this 33 machine. Maybe the best we've seen this Mountain Dew car all year.
Yeah, I got bobbled up there getting on to my pit box. Cost me a little bit of time, probably not enough to gain on Troy or Brandon, but man, what a year.
Yeah, going back and looking, picked up the big win at Homestead earlier this year, in contention through most of the season, but man, you had some bad luck at some moments.
Yeah, it's tough. These boys are, the skill level in this league is par none. I mean, it's crazy what we came to in the past couple years, and it's tough. It's tough to win these deals. It's tough to run in the top 5. But man, it's been super fun.
Well, as this season winds down, of course, the championship was locked up coming into tonight. But the other scenario was the team standings, and I know the officials of the RFC NEXTGEN Light Electric Company ARCA Menard Series, they're crunching the numbers. Hopefully a little bit later on in the night we'll find out a final tally. But you got to be pleased with an entire team effort this year. Back and forth all season long, it felt like, with Falcon Motorsports. You all just went back and forth for that team standings, but what a year for this team.
Yeah, I'm super proud of my guys. Man, it's going to come down to single digits, and we actually led this thing from almost week 4 up until now. So it's going to hurt, not going to lie. It's going to hurt a lot to lose it with single digits, but man, we fought hard. We did all we could do. These boys are good.
Well, before we let you go, tell us about the folks on the side of that race car.
I just want to thank you guys for doing what you do up there in the booth, and my biggest fan, Jags. I hope she watched. That was a good run for us, and of course my wife for letting me do what I do.
There you have it. Third place finisher tonight, Newton, North Carolina's own Brian Mescal Jr., Dave.
Yeah, and as Brian Mescal Jr. walks away with a third place, talking about the team points, we're going to let the officials deal with that for just a brief moment, as I've been able to finally catch in with the driver of that 94 machine, Troy Radford, walking away with the second place. It's Dave in the booth. You got a copy, man?
I do, Dave. How are you doing out there?
Well, you know, I'm doing pretty good. How about you?
I'm through a race at Kansas. This is not a good one for me, so I finished.
Well, finishing well. I mean, can't be too upset about a second place.
No, not at all. I mean, it had a shot to win it, but again, this has never been a great track for me. It always seems to be somebody in front of me gets the wall, comes off, and then my night ends. So, you know, finishing up here second, I made a mistake, got in the wall a little bit, and that's what cost me the lead to Brandon. But Brandon just drove a great race, nice, smart race, and took advantage where he could.
Well, Troy, I'm going to take a minute of your time to look forward in the year here with the Light Electric Company ARCA Menards K&N Series coming to a close. Things going to open up. NEXTGEN setting off into the Xfinity Series next season. But why don't we tell some of these race fans about the cool race coming up here in just a couple of weeks, December 6th, here on the Turn 3 Racing Network.
You know, this is going to be a fun one. We're going to do what we're calling the Christmas Rumble. It's going to be actually the street stock cars at Chicagoland, which is wide open, but it's wide open and a little sketchy. So it's definitely going to require some driver doing it. But the big thing is, I absolutely despise money races because money races just always end up having stupid things. So I was trying to think, and I'm like, how can we have a money race where they don't know what's on the line to win? Because, for this is what I consider a thank you race. We have an awesome league here. Awesome people. We have awesome supporters with our sponsors and everything like that, where I like to do these thank you races where it's a free race where we have prizes. And we've got this one coming up. So what we're doing is we're actually treating it kind of, in vein of Christmas coming up, we're actually treating it like they're winning presents. So they know that there's going to be a prize for first place, a prize for second place, a prize for third place. There's also going to be a prize for a random person who finishes on the lead lap, which is pretty awesome. It's a good prize too. And then we're also going to do an ugly sweater contest where the person who has the ugliest or best sweater car, or whatever Christmas themed car, will also win a pretty cool prize back with it. So I've got some awesome prizes out there. But the main thing is just really just giving an awesome thank you for all of our supporters for the season. I mean, guys, we've got a amazingly strong league here, from the drivers to people who are supporting us with it, and it's all just a thank you for them.
Well, Troy, we do appreciate you choosing us here at Turn 3 to not only put on that Christmas Rumble, but all the league races here. It's been an absolute pleasure watching you all season long here in the RFC NEXTGEN Light Electric Company ARCA Menards K&N Series, walking away with a solid finish to end a solid season. Before we let you go and enjoy the rest of the evening, would you like to give any shout-outs, thank yous, love yous, thank anybody else on the side of the car?
First of all, of course, a giant congratulations to Dale for getting the championship. It was set up like 3 races ago that he won this thing, so it was kind of anticlimactic for him. But, Dale had just a phenomenal season. I think this was the only race all year he had a problem. So just was unbelievably good all year. So, just great champion. Glad to see him wrap it up. Congrats to Brandon out there getting the win and bringing it home for Team Falcon. We're still waiting on those team points. We don't want to say anything because it is dang close between us and Dirty Air. But we're going to wait on the official points to come out here in a couple of days before we announce which way that goes, because we don't want to say something wrong. And then, of course, all of our supporters, guys, between Light Electric, who puts this thing on us for Sundays, Brian Miskell for sponsoring the race tonight, 946 Designs, Mission 22, Turn 3 Network. Just awesome. Thank you guys all for everything you do, and mainly thank you guys for coming out here between Cody and Dave. It's been an awesome season.
Well, Troy, once again, man, congratulations on a solid season, and we look forward to catching up with you trackside here in the next coming weeks.
Hey, thank you.
There you have it. Driver walking away in the second spot here tonight. The 49 of Troy Radford, and I believe that has allowed Cody to make his way down to our first place finisher here tonight. Cody, have you had a chance to catch up with our race winner?
Yeah, Dave, just got into victory lane. Celebration for the Falcon Motorsports number 83 out of Knightstown, Indiana, for the second time this year. Brandon Mefford in victory lane. Brandon, this is one of those kind of races you kind of dream about. Once this car got out front, man, you were able to set sail on the field and pretty much had everybody racing for second once we got to that halfway point.
Yeah, I mean, having that clean air was so nice. The car drove a lot better than being behind somebody. Actually, it was, the line I was running, I thought the car was real free. Not super tight in the middle, which can get you into that wall, and that's where you didn't want to be. But, I just felt like I didn't think I had a shot at the win. And then about a few laps after following Dale, I figured something out, thanks to him. But so happy to have pulled this off for Team Falcon and myself.
Well, man, 18 starts this year, counting tonight, 12 top 10s. We was me and Dave was talking in the opening about you being second in the points. I just felt like you just kind of methodically snuck your way up through the point standings each week, climbing a spot. And then, of course, last week when we left Texas, you found yourself in second by 1 point over Brian Maskell Jr. coming in. And as it looks like it's going to unfold, you're going to clear up second place in the points. Let's just talk about this year. Not exactly maybe the year that you wanted to have, but I know the big win at Irwindale, that really kind of got things going. We talked to you after that race. A lot of excitement after picking up that win at Irwindale, and just a lot of solid, consistent performances this year.
Yeah, last year I came into the series in the middle of last season, so I learned a lot of bad habits and a lot of things, in that half a season. And coming to this season, I had a new attitude. I wanted to be smart, try to stay out of trouble, give spots when I really didn't deserve the one I was in. The guy was faster, and it made for a super consistent season for me. And I didn't make a big splash or anything, but like you guys said, 12 top 10s, that's huge for me in this group. A lot of really fast race car drivers here, a lot of smart guys, and a lot of guys that save their stuff. And to be up there with them, I'm actually proud to finish second. I won the second part of the features, or the points race there, if you take Dale out of it. So I'm extremely happy, and I'm not gonna hold my head low finishing behind Dale.
Most definitely not. One of only 4 drivers to have multiple wins in the 2020 season, a year where we saw at one point we saw 13 different winners go to victory lane. But man, you had the colors on that race car, the ALS on the hood. Tell us about the folks and the cause for that race car.
Yeah, ALS, I don't know a whole lot about it. I do know that my fiance has it running in her family. It's something that we shouldn't like to broadcast, but it is important that we make it aware and make people understand what we're doing there. So I'm really proud to be running that red and black car for a cause, for my family, and again, it makes me real proud.
Well, man, congratulations. 2 wins on the year, runner-up to Katie Osmond in the point standings. A good way to close out 2020 and a good way to say goodbye to the ARCA Menards K&N cars as we move to the Xfinity Series next year.
Well, absolutely. I don't have a lot of laps in the Xfinity cars, but I'm eager and ready to go.
Well, I think you got a little bit of momentum to help push you into those new cars for next year. Our winner tonight, Brandon Medford. Congratulations, man.
Yeah, thanks, guys. I also want to, congratulate KD on his championship. Well deserved. I mean, he was outstanding all season. He had some tough luck tonight, which, benefited me. I'd like to thank Light Electric, Mission 22, 946 Designs, Turn 3 Network for putting on these broadcasts. I love watching them. Actually, I'll turn it on here in a minute, and I'll be up for another hour or two skimming through that. But I want to thank also my Falcon teammates. Thank my brother. He doesn't know what he did to me right before the race. He sent me some wheel settings, and I changed them, and man, it made a world of difference for me, and probably pushed me to the win. And then I want to thank my family for sitting in the other room, listening to us in here on our chat. And after these races, they think it's all silly, but they're real. They encourage us to do this, and they're patient with us while we're racing. So I got to thank them as well.
Awesome stuff, man. Once again, Brandon, congratulations on the win.
Thanks, guys. Have a happy Thanksgiving, and we'll see you guys December 6th for that fun race.
Most definitely, Dave. An exciting driver, second win of the year, and what a way to finish. Kind of quietly runner-up in the points.
Yeah, not just what a way to finish for Brandon Medford, but what a way to finish the season. With the points championship already wrapped up, we could have seen a boring race here tonight. Drivers without anything really hanging in front of them, the carrot, so to speak, not being there to motivate them. We could have seen not as big of a field. We could have seen drivers out here not really giving it their all, but that is exactly opposite of what we've seen. We've seen hard-nosed racing, flag to flag, had a rash of cautions there kind of in the middle of the race, but still some great racing action all race long, man. And Cody, just another way to cap off a great season here in the RFC Next Gen Light Electric Company ARCA Menards Series.
Oh, most definitely. We've seen some exciting racing everywhere we went to this year. From the shortest track we raced on, Irwindale, to the classic Rockingham, even to Laguna Seca this year. We've seen some amazing races, and this series jumping up to the Xfinity car. I think you're going to see even more in the future.
Yeah, I can assure you we're going to see some great racing in the future next season when we head on over into the Xfinity cars, and it looks like Cody, producers, pushing that music button, so you know what that means. Time to run down your unofficial race results for tonight's Autism Speaks. It's time to listen 125 here in the Light Electric Company ARCA Menards K&N Series. Brandon Medford going to bring home that 83 at the top spot, walking away with the race win. Coming home here in second tonight from Falcon Motorsports, the 49 of Troy Radford. Brian Muskill Jr. going to bring his 33 home in third. Jimmy Hetrick in fourth. Derek Robinson with a solid finish, rounding out your top five. The 80 of Brian Littleton going to slot home in sixth. 98 of Thomas Light in seventh. Eighth place goes to Roy Hyde. Douglas Saki going to finish in ninth, and rounding out your top 10, the 4 of Michael Mason-Gill.
Rounding out cars on the lead lap in 11th spot, it was Gordon Larson Jr. The first car one lap down, Damon Cox. Finishing 13th, Ray Radford in the 47. Lance Yancey in the 77, going to pick up a top 15 in 14th. 15th goes to Kendall Levron in his number 8. Gary Ragland 16th in his number 11. Chris Mefford, kind of a tough night for him. He's going to finish 17th in that 84 machine. Travis Arthur in the 86 is going to finish 18th. Travis Smith rallied from that incident earlier to come back to 19th in his number 9. And Melvin Young will round out the top 20 in 20th spot.
21st goes to Cody Terry in the 22 machine. Katie Osmond, your season champion, not having the race night that he wanted to have, walking away from the track in the 22nd position. 23rd here tonight goes to the 45 of Brian Snare, while Eric Blount brings his 6th machine home in the 24th spot. Dustin Ping walking away in 25th, and 26th goes to Mark Vyers. And that does it for your unofficial race results here from Kansas Speedway in the Autism Speaks. It's time to listen to 125. And man, what a way to close out the season for the RFC NEXTGEN Light Electric Company ARCA Menards Series from myself as well as Cody. It's been a pleasure all season long. Thank you, race fans, for tuning in each and every week. If you haven't already, throw these drivers a thumbs up, click subscribe, smash the bell over there on the right-hand side. Get notified anytime we go live, whether it's myself, Darkside Dave in the Cave, my good buddy Cody, or anybody else back at the Turn 3 Racing headquarters. We do appreciate each and every one of you stopping by when you do. So until next time, stay safe, stay loved. Well, you know where we'll meet you in Turn 3. See you then.